Students, after studying this module, you shall be able to understand the concept of international marketing and its importance in current business environment. Also, the drivers of international marketing, the different ways of entering a foreign market, the major decisions in international marketing. In this module, we will learn about the importance of the international trading scenario. It is seen that historically, countries have participated in international trade at large scale. For instance, the famous Silk Route connecting China, India and other Asian countries with Europe and other parts of the world is a trade transmission route. It can be well understood that the main objective of such trade is to sell products of abundance at home country to get products of need. Therefore, the scope of trade seems to be relatively limited. However, events showcased that post-industrial revolution in Britain, international business took an ugly form of slavery and exploitation. But at a positive level, it did enhance the scope of the business by targeting people of other countries as potential consumers and exploiting the cheap raw material available there to produce finished goods in the home country. Though in recent times, international trade has increased drastically, but thankfully, it is no more based on exploitation and repression. In today's 21st century world, especially after the Second World War, international trends in population migration, rapid technological advancement in the production process, travel and communication, etc., guide the whole picture of international trade. If we look at the World Trade Organization, WTO, we see that the organization was primarily formed to regulate and promote international trade and was joined by most of the countries by agreeing to its policies to gain from world trade. It reduced the international trade barriers and accelerated growth of international trade. Major regional trading blocs were developed in different parts of the world, like ASEAN in Southeast Asia, European Union, Mercosur in Latin America, and NAFTA in America itself. We see that European Union is a distinct case where most of the European countries agreed to give up their individual political economic rights to exploit the maximum advantage of trade and business. But even though international business offers different opportunities, it has its own threats too. Now it can also be seen that limited size of the domestic market with increasing competition motivates and compels companies to seek market opportunities beyond their own borders to exploit advantages of expanding businesses. However, with abundant opportunities, international markets also possess different kinds of threats which depend on the extent of differences between the business environment of home country and host country. The domestic and international markets differ mainly on the basis of language, culture, stability of environment, exchange rate, business convention, and viability of market research. These differences make the international market more sensitive to fluctuations and thereby creating problems for the business entities operating at international level. We should keep in mind that marketing is universal, even though marketing practices differ from country to country. It should also be noted that experiences of one country cannot always be applied in another country. To succeed globally, the company has to know the customer in a wider context, including the broader economic, social, political, legal, and competitive forces that shape the particular market. Companies who ignore this fact and transfer irrelevant experience from one country to another country soon learn it, but in an expensive way. It requires marketers to understand the similarities and differences present in the world market and respond accordingly by modifying the marketing mix. These adjustments can be minor or major, but in both conditions they remain crucial. Further, the particular approach to international marketing that a company adopts will depend on industry conditions and its sources of competitive advantage. For example, the competitive advantage of Harley-Davidson is based in part on its made in the USA, while Toyota has positioned itself as a global brand independent of country of origin. In exploring the concept of international marketing, we see that international marketing can be compared to the wheel of a bicycle. The wheel have three components. First, the hub. The center of the wheel in this comparison is similar to the marketing mix variables. In international marketing, these elements will need adjustments taking into account the uncontrollable variables in both the domestic and international account. The second part, the spokes. The spokes of the wheel connect the hub to the rim. Here they are compared with regulations of international trade imposed by the governments of domestic country. These regulations may be driven by economic, political, or legal reasons. For example, the USA prohibited its companies to trade with Vietnam until 1996. The third part, the rim. The rim here signifies the lessening the impact of domestic marketing approaches on the international market. The main areas requiring sensitivity of the company are the economic, financial, legal, political, social, cultural, etc. The elements of the marketing mix located here at the hub of the wheel need to be adjusted, keeping in the view these factors. The extent of such modification mainly depends on the feature of the product and similarity, dissimilarity of the two markets. We have seen that it is the chain of globalization which has converted the world into a global village. The increased interconnectedness of people of different countries and business is further enhancing the size and scope of international marketing. It is the various new age forces that are driving the globalization and hence international marketing. Drivers of international marketing are development in communication technology, second, rapid transportation, third, liberal government policies, and fourth, immigration and emigration. We all know that in today's day and age, technology has crossed all national and cultural boundaries. Once any technical breakthrough has happened, it soon becomes available everywhere in the world. It has touched every aspect of human life. Latest developments in communication technologies have made it faster and cheaper. Email, fax, teleconferencing, video conferencing has allowed companies to run and coordinate its different projects located at different places of the world. In fact, Facebook is a unique example of how technology provided a virtual social platform which altered the ways people communicate. It can also be seen that in terms of transportation, a spectacular improvement has occurred which has not only reduced the costs and time barriers of physical movement of both people and products, but has also brought down shipping cost. a very important component in international trade. This has come down through the emergence of more effective packaging system. Reductions in air freight costs have also allowed air transportation to play more important role in international marketing activities. We all know that government plays a very crucial role in promoting international business. By realizing the various positive impacts of international business on domestic economy, many countries are now either liberalized or liberalizing their respective economies. A country like China, for instance, which had a very minimal trade relations with the rest of the world, has progressed to become a leading global exporter and a preferred destination of foreign investments. Today, globalization has made the world a global village. A huge number of people are moving from their home countries to live in other countries. Governments are more liberal now to allow such settlements. Such settlements strengthen friendly relationship between countries and extend exposures to different cultures. All these developments present marketing opportunities. Flourishing business of Indian cuisine in America, Britain, and other parts of the world is a perfect example of this. In the present world, we can infer that with the enormous growth in scales and complexities of international trade, different approaches to international market development have been developed. The company's response to international market opportunities mainly depends on management's assumptions about the nature of the world. These orientations are collective known as ERPG framework. The worldview of a company's management orientation to international marketing can be described as ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, and geocentric. First, we explore ethnocentric orientation, which views domestic market as the most important market and foreign market as subordinate to it. The management assumes its home country superior to the rest of the world. Moreover, it adheres to the notion that products and marketing practices that are successful in the domestic market will succeed anywhere in the rest of the world. Often, they view foreign markets as dumping ground for their domestic market surplus. For example, Atlas Cycles and Hero Cycles manufacture cycles keeping in view their domestic customers and export the same cycles to foreign markets. Paul and Cooper 2008. In short, ethocentric orientation views foreign market just an extension of the local market. Next, we look at polycentric orientation, which views each overseas market as a separate domestic market. The company seeks to be seen as a local player within that country. Often, the company sets up manufacturing and marketing operations in each foreign market. For example, Toyota, Suzuki, Ford all develops locally adopted models of their cars, keeping in view consumer-specific needs of each country. Subsequently, we move on to regiocentric orientation, which groups foreign markets together, usually on a geographical basis, and attempts to cater the specific needs of consumers within that group. Here, cultural differences are more important than political boundaries. Soft drink companies like Pepsi and Coke have divided the world market into different segments. Each segment consists of countries having regional similarity. So here, national boundaries hold no meaning in designing the marketing mix. Lastly, we explore geocentric orientation, which looks at the world as a single global market. Companies following this approach look for global segments and global opportunities to develop and rationalize production and other marketing strategies. Their quest is to become world leaders. Companies like McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut have similar ambience worldwide in their restaurants. However, some modifications are made in the food served. Thereafter, we move on to the major strategic decisions involved in international marketing. We see that international markets provide exciting opportunities for companies. However, going to international markets involves a series of complex decision-making process. There are 5 broad decisions that need to be explored. These are deciding whether to go abroad, which markets to enter, how to enter market, deciding marketing program, and deciding marketing organization. Exploring the first decision, that is deciding whether to go abroad. Many companies would prefer to remain domestic if their domestic markets were large enough and sufficient protections were provided against foreign competition. However, both the condition is becoming rare day by day. So companies have to involve in international markets for a variety of reasons. Major factors which motivate or compel companies to go abroad are: some international markets are more lucrative than the domestic market, or the company needs a large customer base to achieve economies of scale. Third, the company wants to reduce its dependence on any one market. Or last, consumers are going abroad and require international services. Now, following this, as the company decides which international markets to target, the next important decision is regarding selecting the particular market. In this regard, the company has to define its marketing objectives and policies. Most companies start with a small exposure to international market. Some want to stay small while others have bigger plans. Typical entry strategies are the waterfall approach, that is gradually entering countries in sequence, or the sprinkle approach, that is entering many countries simultaneously. However, there are companies, especially technology-intensive ones, which are born global. They market to the entire world from the outset. Such companies do not want to associate themselves to any particular country. For example, companies like BMW, GE followed the waterfall approach. It allows companies to carefully expand the business. When there is first mover advantage in a highly competitive market, the sprinkle approach is better. Microsoft follows it while introducing a new version of Windows software. It is of utmost importance for the company to decide which countries to target on the basis of their growth level. One of the sharpest divisions in international marketing is between developed and developing markets. Developed markets have better infrastructure, upgraded security, with high purchasing power with the people. However, such markets are saturated with cutthroat competition. On the other hand, emerging economies have huge population growing, rich and have unmet needs. This presents huge potential for many goods and services. But the markets for such countries are price sensitive and with relatively low living standard. Infrastructure is still not fully developed. Such situations need proper homework on every aspect of the marketing mix before entering the slide. To understand this better, we'll look into a real-life case where creativity brought success for a company called Danone. Danone is a French food company which started its business in Bangladesh, a completely different market from its home market. Bangladesh is a developing nation with vast population and widespread poverty. The company devised innovative ways to make the suitable products for the market. It partnered with the Grameen Bank to make and sell low-cost, nutritionally rich fortified yogurts or Shakti Doi. The partnership helped to provide income to local farmers, supplying the milk and other villagers involved in the distribution of the product. The Grameen Bank provided small loans at low rate of interest for buying and raising cows. Though initially the project was not profitable, but the company was confident enough to get good returns in the long run. On the whole, the company felt proud by developing a new food product to fight against prevalent hunger and malnutrition. The next important decision is to determine the mode of entry. The company can select any one of the following 5 market entry strategies that are indirect export, direct export, licensing, direct investment, or joint venture. First, we look at the entry strategy choice between indirect export and direct export. In case of indirect export, for instance, companies start by selling its products to independent intermediaries who further sells abroad. Indirect export has 2 advantages. First, indirect export involves less investment. Second, there is a less risk involved in it. On the other hand, in the case of direct export, a company is to handle its own exports. Though it involves more investment and risk, however, it is more profitable in the long run. The company can have a separate export department at home or can operate overseas sales branch. It is seen that companies usually use direct or indirect exporting as a way to test the waters before going to produce overseas. The third aspect is that of licensing, which is another example or another simple way to engage in international marketing. The company issues a license to a foreign entity to use its manufacturing process, trademark, patent, etc. for a fee or royalty. However, the company has less control over the licensee. Another strategic choice is to engage in a joint venture wherein company can collaborate with local players in the host country to create a joint company in which they share ownership and control. Joint ventures are desirable for many reasons, such as having an experienced local partner while operating in a new market. Furthermore, foreign governments often requires joint venture as a condition for entry. They even compel foreign companies not to hold majority shareholding. Maruti Suzuki India Limited is a good example of successful joint venture of renowned Japanese automobile maker Suzuki with Maruti of India. The last strategic choice offered is to engage in direct investment. It is the ultimate form of foreign trade, where the company can either buy any local company or build its own facilities. Foreign direct investment has its own direct advantages. The company has full control of its investment. It secures cost advantage by using cheap raw materials and labor. It also attains economies of scale by producing and selling at large scale. Of, Often, host governments also provide investment incentives like tax holidays, rebates, etc. to such companies. However, such investments are so not viable for small and medium sized companies as they require heavy investment and experienced managerial skills. However, such investments are not viable for small and medium sized companies as they require heavy investment and experienced managerial skills. Also, foreign direct investments are highly vulnerable to external shocks. Political turmoil in the host country, currency devaluation, boycott by local public in the host country, etc., make such investment highly risky. Another aspect of international marketing is that of deciding the marketing program. It can be understood that once the mode of entry in foreign markets is decided, the company must decide how much to adapt its marketing strategy, keeping in view local conditions. The company can use a globally standardized marketing mix or an adopted one. Standardization of the elements of marketing mix promises the lowest costs. However, it often ignores the difference in consumers' needs, preferences, and usage patterns. It is seen that countries across the world have widespread cultural differences. So here, the adapted marketing mix comes to the rescue, as in this approach, tailored marketing programs are utilized to target different consumer groups. It is always better to include a combination of standard, say the main product or brand, and non-standard, which means promotion, pricing, packaging, distribution approaches. It can also be seen that global marketing requires the company to behave in a way that is global and local at the same time by responding to the similarities and dissimilarities of world markets. For example, even Coca-Cola, the globally successful brand, is sweeter or less carbonated in some countries. McDonald's in India changed their menu to suit Indian customers' preferences and tastes. Since majority of Indian doesn't consume beef and pork, it does not serve beef and pork preparations in its Indian outlets. The last issue of international marketing is to decide the marketing organization. Companies manage their international marketing activities in three broad ways. The first is an export division, wherein a company sets up a separate export department if its initial international sales expand consistently. It consists of a sales manager and few staffs to look after the international affairs and expand the business there. Second way is that of international division. In this, once the international business of the company expands to several countries with huge turnover, it has to set up international divisions to handle all its international activities. The head of all the divisions sets the goals and budgets and is accountable for the company's international growth. Lastly, we look at the third way of managing international marketing activities, which is global organization. Currently, many companies have truly become global organizations. In such companies, the top management and staff plan manufacturing facilities, financial flows, marketing policies, etc. for its worldwide operations. The global operating units directly report to the chief executive of the company. These companies recruit management from many countries, train them in worldwide operations, and buy raw materials where it is cheap and best. However, such companies face several organizational complexities due to this setup. Summarizing the module, we can say that globalization has fundamentally changed the way people consume products and the way by which companies approach business. It reminds the fact that though marketing principles are universal, marketing practices need modifications while targeting foreign markets. International trade is full of opportunities and threats which needs specialized knowledge. International marketing attempts to recognize the extent to which marketing plans and programs can be extended worldwide as well as the extent to which they need adjustments. Furthermore, international marketing is not just an expansion of business. Often it is an act of survival in this highly competitive world.